caffeine is like taking energy from a credit card. Even green tea contains caffeine.
Green tea.
Yes.
What people use for weight loss.
People love shortcuts, but there is no shortcut to fat loss.
Hello everyone and welcome to VLCC Beauty Inside Out. I'm your host Shruti Johnson. For the first time ever, we are bringing together the biggest VLCC experts and doctors to answer your questions on beauty, anti-aging, slimming, dermat and whatnot. And we're also going to help you achieve your beautiful transformation in the healthiest and safest way. So in today's episode of Beauty Inside Out, we are going to talk to Dr. Deepti Verma, who heads nutrition for VLCC Wellness Clinics and VLCC Schools South Asia. With over 27 years of experience, Dr. Deepti is a powerhouse of knowledge when it comes to what we eat and how it impacts our life. She's also a pro athlete and a fitness freak, and it shows. So a very warm welcome to VLCC Beauty Inside Out, Dr. Deepti.
Thank you, Shruti, so much. And I'm so happy and looking forward to our conversation today.
That's great. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to spill some beans, and quite literally spilling some beans. But I'll be giving you some hints on what we're going to talk about, what our topic today is. So this is something that people, can't process without when they wake up in the morning. This is something that you are offered during work meetings. This is something that people, plan their first dates on. And also something that, big celebrity chat shows are named after. The latest thing that this has become a part of now is your weight loss diets. So I guess we know what we are talking about here. We have woken up and we are trying to smell the coffee. So coffee and caffeine is what we are going to talk about today in this episode of VLCC Beauty Inside Out.
That's really, really interesting. And I'm sure our viewers and audiences are going to love this topic because it's so much talk of the town.
It is, definitely is. So even though caffeine and weight loss and coffee and all this is a very hot topic right now, the first thing I want to understand from you as a nutritionist is what is caffeine and how does it impact our body?
So if I had to say about caffeine, so how I would introduce this is that caffeine is a chemical which is naturally found in many of the food substances, and it is psychoactive, or you could say neurostimulant or neuroactive substance that actually gives excitability to the nerves. So you get that kick and you feel high after having consumed anything to do with caffeine. In fact, there are pretty many substances also, or the food items which are made from this chemical called caffeine, which is naturally present in the foods.
Okay. So whenever we say caffeine, the first thing that comes to our mind is coffee, right? But is caffeine present in some other food or, drink sources as well?
Oh yes, pretty many foods actually. So caffeine, of course, is present in coffee, which is a very popular beverage all over the globe. And it is present in tea as well. The milk tea that we have, especially in India, we have the normal desi chai. So that, of course, has a lot of caffeine. Also because we brew it a lot. Like all of us, want to have a well-cooked tea. So that actually extracts a lot of caffeine out of the tea leaves. Then caffeine is also present in the cocoa beans, which are the chocolate beans, or the chocolate is what we call. So yeah, caffeine is present there as well. And there are multiple drinks and beverages which we call as energy drinks, which are actually, they contain a lot of caffeine in them. Like we have these carbonated beverages, we have energy drinks, hot chocolate, cold chocolates, and the shakes, the chocolate shakes, the chocolate ice creams, the chocolate donuts, the chocolate cakes, depending upon how much chocolate has been added to that. So yeah, all of them contain caffeine. And in fact, just to let you know that even green tea contains caffeine.
Green tea?
Yes.
What people use for weight loss after having their meal?
Well, green tea doesn't really give a weight loss. That's a fad that people think that it does. So when we talk about green tea, it does have caffeine. In fact, it has almost 30 to 50 milligrams of caffeine in it. So, but then the weight loss thing that's related to the caffeine which is present in the green tea, is not what delivers the weight loss. It's actually the green tea contains the chemical catechins that we have all heard about. Green tea contains catechins. So those catechins, with the full name of epigallocatechins gallate, we call it EGCG. So that catechins is responsible for giving weight loss, not the caffeine. So, but then very, very partially and minimally. So no, I mean, I would not say that green tea actually gives people weight loss, but then yes, it does have other antioxidant properties. And so like you asked me this question about green tea, so I'd just like to clarify for our audiences that green tea actually elevates the metabolism. It's almost like it's serviced that car, so when we get our car serviced, it runs smoother and easier because all the carbon and the muck is out of it. So that's what green tea does to our body, that it removes all the chemicals or free radicals or toxins, so to speak, and then the body's metabolism elevates, and that's what delivers weight loss.
Wow, that. I had no idea about green tea having caffeine in it. I think it's very, very important to know about nutrition and have a nutritionist tell you what things are good for you and what things are not good for you. It's like, I'm glad I met you today for this. So coming back to this caffeine diet, I want to understand why has why is it a fad? Why has this become so famous among teenagers or say all age groups for that matter? In fact, some friend of mine was telling me very recently that his gym instructor told him that before coming to the gym, have a shot of black coffee. So why has this become a thing that caffeine or coffee or black coffee works for weight loss? Does it, or is this like really a viral trend that is going on and everyone is like running behind it and trying it? And is it very impactful to the body otherwise, like negatively or not?
So Shruti, I'd just like to tell you that, a few years ago, there was a research paper on caffeine, and where I had read that, caffeine is like taking energy from a credit card. That, like you at that moment, it feels very, very empowering, and it's, you could just buy whatever you wanted to buy. So you get that kick of energy or a surge of energy, but then you have to pay for it. So that's how it actually works. So in a way, you could say that caffeine, within the safer limits can be good for sure, because it does have good benefits, because it is a very powerful antioxidant also. But people go overboard with caffeine and, taking tea or coffee. In fact, they become addicts. And then the dependency on the caffeine when it starts, that means your body now needs it. And when one comes to that stage of needing coffee or being dependent of coffee, that becomes a habit now. And that is the time when it starts giving deteriorating effects and it starts giving its own side effects.
And what about this gymming? When you're gymming or going to exercise, can you really have a shot of coffee? Will it help with the energy and everything?
Well, people love shortcuts, but there is no shortcut to fat loss. Yes, it does expedites the fat loss for sure, in the sense that, yes, when one has caffeine, so you do, like there is something called lipolysis, is what we call as fat loss. That's breaking down of the fat. So yes, caffeine does break down the fat, but then the dependency on the caffeine to break down the fat, when it happens, that's when it starts giving the deteriorating effects or the ill effects, because then one becomes dependent. And when you become dependent, then we have these side effects of body becoming over caffeinated, more acidic, so to speak. And weight loss does not happen in an acidic body, because the human body is meant to be alkaline. And in fact, people are talking about alkaline diets and, alkalinizing the body and having an alkaline blood, because blood is alkaline. It has a pH of 7.4, so which is an alkaline pH. But then caffeine is acidic for sure. And then it will start building up in the system, and it starts drawing calcium from the bones and several other side effects. So as a nutritionist, I would never advise someone to be depending on caffeine for weight loss or fat loss. That's not something that I would ever advise, no.
So, okay, I understood that you are not supposed to take a shot of coffee, is what I understand from you when you're going gymming or something. But when you go for a run and all, just for the energy, because you're waking up so early in the morning at 6 o'clock, so you need that certain part of energy that will keep you pumped up so that you can go jogging or walking or even for your exercises. Isn't that okay if you're saying that it helps with a little bit of fat loss or whatever it is doing to your metabolism? So is it not okay to have one shot of it?
Well, no, I would never advise someone to have a coffee and go for a run or exercise or a gym either. So what happens with caffeine is that, of course, like it increases the metabolism, but then as I mentioned that it's energy taking in from a credit card. So, because of that, of course, at that moment, one might feel that surge of energy. So eventually, after about 3 to 4 hours, there is a huge energy crash that happens because then your body wants more of it. That's number one. And secondly is what's very important is that, caffeine is very, very dehydrating. So it is also called as a diuretic. That is, it causes diuresis, the loss of water from the kidneys in the form of urination. So one does have hyperurination after having had the caffeine or coffee in any form. So as a result of that, when the person's running, you're already a little dehydrated, because you're losing a lot of water through your breath, through your sweat. And as a result of that, the blood becomes viscous. And now having had the coffee as well, the blood becomes very, very thick. So it flows in the blood vessels at a much slower pace. So it becomes very difficult for the blood, which is carrying oxygen, which you need so much, when you're running, working out. So that actually becomes very, very slow, and one would feel like dizzy, or one would have cold sweats or brain fog while exercising, and it can be as worse as the person even fainting.
Oh, that's very risky. Yeah. So, but I'm pretty sure there must be some safe limits when it comes to caffeine, the intake, how much should be taken and how much should be avoided.
Yeah. So according to the research studies, it says that anything which is above 100 milligrams per day will cause an addiction, because actually when you have coffee, you get a dopamine kick. That gives you a high, that feel-good factor. So that dopamine molecule gets activated, and that dopamine gets habitual of being kicked in. So the moment you get into that, zone when you're low on energy, your body will ask for caffeine again, and then it just goes on and on and on, and until it starts giving you serious side effects. So when we talk about the safer limits, anything like above 200 milligrams per day would actually have ill effects on the body. So if I have to kind of give you the quantity of 200 milligrams, one could say that about 2 cups of coffee is equivalent to 200 milligrams in a day of the cup that we have here. So yeah, 2 cups of this is enough. I mean, it would be the safe limit. Anything more than this actually would have ill effects. And when we talk about the Indian chai that we actually cook a lot, so in that case, it would be about 3 cups of tea is what we can have in a day to be able to reach that 200 milligrams of the caffeine limit. And if it is to do with green tea in any case, we do not limit, we control the limit of not going more than 2 cups in a day. Yeah.
So we are Indians and we love having a beverage in the morning, whether it is tea or it is coffee, and these are the most famous ones. So is there any timing that people should stick to when it comes to caffeine? Like some time that you should have caffeine in, or you should completely avoid caffeine during this time of the day?
Yeah. So first thing in the morning when someone has a coffee, it actually results in a lot of problems to do with acidity, gas, bloating. It might eventually even lead to IBS because it is also destroying the gut bacteria early in the morning. So what happens is that when you're taking caffeine as the first thing in the morning and you're on an empty stomach, so what it does is that caffeine, when it goes inside the gastric pouch in the stomach, it causes thermogenesis, that is a release of a lot of heat and stimulation of hydrochloric acid. So we all know that there is an acid that releases in the stomach. In any case, we have hydrochloric acid in the the stomach. Now, when we actually caffeinate ourselves too much, so we have release of more hydrochloric acid. So otherwise hydrochloric acid is good because it naturally releases. But
Right.
here we are overstimulating
Yeah.
the release of hydrochloric acid, which might actually start giving us, like hyperacidity and a heartburn sensation, etc. Because there is no food in the stomach.
Right.
And with so much of hydrochloric acid releasing, it starts eating up on the mucosal lining of the stomach, thereby causing ulcerations as well. And when the caffeine goes down to the intestines, and then it actually cuts down on the bacteria, which are the good bacteria or the gut
Right.
microbiome, thereby causing lots of gastrointestinal issues, constipation. It might cause, ulcerations, the gastric ulcers, the peptic ulcer, and also IBS. Yeah.
So all this can be caused by having coffee the first thing in the
Yeah,
morning.
on an empty stomach.
And so
anytime
many people
during
are
the
having
day.
it. Like I've seen in my own house, I see that before anything else, everyone wants tea or coffee. Like that's the first drink that they want to have before anything else. And it causes so much harm.
Yes. Actually, this is the reason why we have so much of gastrointestinal patients in India, because we actually, not just in the morning, throughout the day, as they say in India, every time is a tea time. So we are celebrating tea throughout the day. Someone comes home, there's tea, coffee or something. So, and it goes on throughout the day, and hence so much of a gastrointestinal problem. So in fact, at VLCC, we run a microbiome diet, that has so much to do with the gut bacteria, an increase in gut bacteria. So we're actually working towards an increase in the gut bacteria for the beneficial effects that it exerts. So yeah, caffeine is the opposite of that. Yeah, it's actually a double-edged sword, you can say, that it does give that instant stimulation, while at the same time, in the longer run, it is deteriorating for the body.
So, Dr. Deepti, thank you so very much for being a part of VLCC Beauty Inside Out podcast. You were our first super expert, and you've actually created a superb experience for me especially, and I'm pretty sure for my viewers also. It has been such an insightful, such a knowledgeable, and such an enlightening session, I would say. There's so many things I did not know about, even though I know about this field. I know I've read things, I've studied about things, but still there are so many small things that can impact our life, and I've read about them. And I'm telling you, surely today I'm going back home, I'm telling my mom about some of the things, I'm going to tell my dad about some of the things, my bhabhi, my bhai, everyone I'm pretty sure going to talk to them about, you're doing this is wrong. An expert has told me. So I understand how important it is now to go to an expert to understand and have a healthy life. So I am very grateful for you to be a part of this podcast as a first guest, and I'm really truly honored to have you here.
I think it's a mutual kind of a gratitude that I would like to give to you too, because your questions were amazing. Thank you so much for having me over, and it was an absolute pleasure and delight to be sitting with you.
Thank you so much, Doc. And I'm pretty sure that most of our viewers, whatever questions they have had thought of, we have covered most of them, and I'm pretty sure that I was very happy with the answers that I got, and they must be too. But if they want to ask you more questions around caffeine, around weight loss drink, around nutrition altogether, what can they do?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody, the viewers are more than welcome to actually have their questions put in the chat box, and I'll definitely answer them, like in our next podcast for sure. And anyone, if our viewers want to refer the topic of caffeine to any of their friends or family, because these days, everyone's
True.
over-caffeinated all the time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Deepti.
Thank you so much. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
And to all our viewers, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope we answered most of your questions. If you have any more questions related to the topic, related to caffeine, slimming, nutrition, anything, you can drop the questions in our comments, and we will ensure that we make them a part of our next podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of VLCC Beauty Inside Out. See you next time.